Have you ever wondered how the Ku Klux Klan, a notorious white supremacist group, came into existence? Our story begins in the small hours of a December night in 1865 in the town of Pulaski, Tennessee. The Civil War had only recently ended, leaving the southern United States in a state of turmoil and transformation. Amidst the ruins, 6 Confederate veterans sought solace in camaraderie, forming a social club that would unwittingly evolve into one of the most infamous organizations in American history, the Ku Klux Klan. Initially, the group was nothing more than a fraternity, a place for these men to share stories, play pranks, and bask in the nostalgia of an era now lost. The name they chose, the Ku Klux Klan, was a playful mix of the Greek word kiklos, meaning circle, and clan, a nod to their Scottish-Irish heritage. But as the realities of post-war life set in, the benign circle of friends took a darker turn. The South was undergoing a seismic shift in its social and political order. The abolition of slavery, as well as the political and civil rights being granted to African Americans, were seen by many white Southerners as a direct threat to their way of life. In response, the Ku Klux Klan transformed from a social club into a vigilante group, their aim to restore white supremacy through threats, violence, and even murder. Their methods were brutal, their targets often the most vulnerable. They terrorized and killed African Americans and their white allies alike, all under the cover of night and the anonymity of their white hoods. Their acts of violence were not random, but a terrifyingly calculated campaign of terror designed to suppress the African American population and maintain white dominance. From its inception, the Klan set a precedent for hate and violence that would endure for decades to come. The birth of the Klan marked the beginning of a dark chapter in American history, one that would continue to cast its long shadow over the nation's journey towards equality and justice. But how did this group manage to exert such a terrifying influence in its early years? In the tumultuous period following the American Civil War known as the Reconstruction era, the Ku Klux Klan began to exert a profound and chilling influence on society. This was a time when the nation was attempting to rebuild itself and integrate freed black slaves into the fabric of American life. However, the Klan had other plans. The Klan's reign of terror was aimed at both black and white Republicans. They were hell-bent on suppressing the voting rights of those who dared to support equality and integration. The Klan's methods were brutal and ruthless. They did not hesitate to use violence and murder to achieve their goals. They cloaked themselves in white robes, their faces hidden behind masks, striking fear into the hearts of those they targeted. But it wasn't only the Klan's victims who lived in fear. The reign of terror created a climate of fear and intimidation that permeated all levels of society. They wanted to create an atmosphere where the mere thought of challenging their beliefs would be met with swift and brutal retaliation. The federal government did not stand idly by during this reign of terror. In an attempt to curb the Klan's activities, a series of laws known as the Enforcement Acts were passed. These laws were designed to protect African Americans' rights and to crack down on the activities of groups like the Klan. However, enforcement of these laws proved to be a challenging task. The Klan was deeply ingrained in many aspects of Southern society, and their influence was not easily eradicated. In some cases, local law enforcement was either sympathetic to the Klan's cause or too afraid to stand against them. Despite these actions, the Klan's influence continued to persist, symbolizing a dark era of America's history. The reign of terror may have ended, but the scars it left behind are still visible today. The Klan's legacy is a grim reminder of a time when hatred and fear were used as tools to oppress and control. Did the Klan's influence end with the Reconstruction era? Unfortunately, no. The 20th century saw a dark resurgence of the Klan, ignited by the 1915 film The Birth of a Nation. This controversial movie, which glorified the Klan and justified their violent actions, served as a powerful recruitment tool. The Klan, which had been largely dormant at the turn of the century, was rekindled with a dangerous new fervor. But this time, the Klan's hate had broadened its horizons. Their targets were no longer solely African Americans. Now, they had expanded their list to include Catholics, Jews, and immigrants. Anyone who didn't fit into their narrow definition of a true American was a potential victim of their terror. The Klan's twisted vision of America was one of white Protestant supremacy, and they were willing to go to great lengths to maintain it. The 1920s marked the peak of the Klan's membership. Their numbers swelled into the millions, making them a force to be reckoned with. This wasn't just a fringe group lurking in the shadows anymore. Klan members were now part of the mainstream. They were your neighbors, your co-workers, even your elected officials. Yes, you heard that right. The Klan had managed to infiltrate American politics. They had a significant influence on elections, both local and national. They used their political power to implement laws and policies that furthered their racist and xenophobic agenda. The Klan's influence was so pervasive that it was almost impossible to separate it from the American political landscape of the 1920s. But the Klan's power didn't just lie in their numbers or their political influence. It was their ability to instill fear and division that made them truly formidable. They used intimidation, violence, and even murder to maintain their power and silence any opposition. The Klan was more than just a hate group. It was a symbol of the deep-seated racism and bigotry that existed in American society. The Klan had seeped into the fabric of American society, causing irrevocable damage. But what happened to the Klan after its peak in the 1920s? Did it just vanish? Not quite. The Klan of the Roaring Twenties was indeed on the decline, but it wouldn't disappear into thin air. A series of scandals, including embezzlement and murder, tore through the organization, tarnishing its reputation. The once united front began to splinter, with internal factionalism fracturing the Klan's power. The downfall of the Klan can't be discussed without acknowledging the tireless efforts of social activist groups. These brave souls fought against the Klan's reign of terror, working relentlessly to expose the organization's violence and bigotry. They didn't just stand against the Klan, they actively dismantled it, pushing for laws and regulations that would limit the Klan's influence and reach. The civil rights movement of the 1960s was another blow to the Klan. Civil rights activists, with their peaceful protests and powerful speeches, challenged the Klan's ideology of racial superiority. As the nation watched these activists stand against hatred and discrimination, the Klan's influence started to wane. Despite these setbacks, the Klan managed to survive into the modern era, albeit in a much diminished state. Today, the Klan is a shadow of its former self, scattered across the country in various splinter groups. These groups, while still holding on to the Klan's hateful ideology, lack the power and influence the Klan once wielded. The modern Klan, though diminished, is still a cause for concern. Its existence is a reminder that the seeds of hate, once planted, can be hard to fully uproot. But it's also a testament to the resilience of those who stand against hate, who refuse to be cowed by fear, and who fight for a world where all people are treated with dignity and respect. From a formidable force to a fragmented entity, the Klan's journey is a stark reminder of the power of hate, but also of the resilience of those who stood against it. The Ku Klux Klan has left a deep and enduring scar on American history, but what is its legacy? As we delve into the legacy of the Klan, it's critical to understand that its impacts are far-reaching and unfortunately still evident in today's society. The Klan's mission to uphold white supremacy and instill fear in those who didn't fit their narrow definition of American has left a lasting imprint on the nation. The Klan's influence extends beyond its own lifespan, weaving its way into the fabric of American society. It played a substantial role in perpetuating racism, not just as a fleeting sentiment, but as a systemic issue deeply ingrained in the country's institutions and cultural mindset. The echoes of this ideology, sadly, continue to reverberate in many corners of our society today. Moreover, the Klan's methods and ideologies didn't die with the organization. Its impact is evident in modern hate groups, which often draw inspiration from the Klan's tactics and beliefs. These groups, like the Klan, use fear and intimidation to further their agendas, often targeting individuals based on their race, religion, or nationality. The Klan's legacy is not just one of hate and division, though, but also one of resistance and resilience. Its existence sparked a determination among countless individuals to fight against racism and intolerance. Civil rights activists, community leaders, and ordinary citizens alike have stood up against the Klan's ideologies, striving to create a more equitable society. Their ongoing fight is a testament to the enduring spirit of those who refuse to be silenced by hate. It's essential to recognize the Klan's legacy for what it is, a grim reminder of our past. It's a past fraught with injustice and intolerance, a past that we must confront head-on. By acknowledging this, we can strive to build a future that's not defined by the color of one's skin, but by the content of their character. The legacy of the Ku Klux Klan is a grim reminder of our past, a past that we must acknowledge to build a more inclusive and tolerant future.